The same management of Chelsea that pushed Pochettino and Maresca now brings Thiago Alonso. And that's where the detail that most people miss is hidden. Everyone talks about Alonso's arrival at Chelsea, and everyone misses the point. Forget the tactics for a moment. The story begins with one word in the contract. Manager. Not the main coach. Alonso is the first Chelsea manager in years to wear that title. Pochettino and the others were just coaches inside the blue coma, forced to work with what the sports directors gave them. Alonso changed that. He got his own medical team, complete control of the stadium and his transfers. To understand why, we have to go back to his collapse in Real Madrid. Why was he released there, and in Leverkusen he wrote history? The answer is ego. Alonso's system requires fantastic obedience and defensive discipline. In Madrid, the main players were mostly discouraged. The system collapsed. In Leverkusen he had soldiers. Players who ran kilometers for him. Who never put themselves above the club. Chelsea now offers him exactly that. Expensive team but tactically obedient. If you think Alonso and Palmer will not function because they never work together, you are wrong. Palmer went through the Guardiola Academy. Alonso trained under Guardiola in Bayern. They were shaped by the same football philosophy before they met. What is even more important, Palmer is an anti-star. Quiet, introverted, cool. He is exactly what Alonso did not have in Madrid. And there is one more detail that no one talks about. During the negotiations, Alonso and Chelsea's management said that he wanted to build a team of mental beasts. The same principle that Jurgen Klopp glorified in Liverpool. Liverpool rejected Alonso. He chose to keep Arne Slot. The legend of Liverpool uses the philosophy of Liverpool to make Chelsea an unstoppable machine. The next generation of managers is already there. I would just say that Alonso will be an absolute standout. Chelsea changed 3 different philosophies in one season. Maresca's positional football, transitional attempts and Alonso's temporary system. The team is tactically disoriented. Alonso's system behind the attacker does not require a classic wing, but 2 attacking midfielders that enter the middle. This means that Palmer and João Pedro get complete creative freedom in the zone in front of the space, but also on the right side. Liam Delap is a complete failure. In played matches, Delap scored only 1 goal. Boniface in Leverkusen had a system. Delap was isolated in Chelsea. Without a clear system, the player of his profile quickly becomes a failure. If Boniface, as an average player, managed to look like a beast in Leverkusen, it means that next season Alonso and Chelsea will not need Erling Haaland. But the new attacker is less important. The position of the goalkeeper in Chelsea at the moment is the biggest crisis point that Alonso would have to quickly solve. But the biggest confusion you hear at the moment is that Palmer will be the new Florian Wirtz. No, he won't be. Palmer is a player who functions when the system gives him the ball. Wirtz in Leverkusen was not allowed to constantly drop deep for the ball. Put Palmer in a cage and you will get only a decent player. Palmer is a rare anomaly in the Premier League. He is the only attacker who has a pure Spanish gene, la pausa. The ability to stop the ball and freeze the game. He holds the ball while scanning the field and waits for all the players to position themselves. Alonso got a perfect hybrid, the one because of which he does not have to break his principles. Chelsea lost the FA Cup final to Manchester City. That means only one thing for the next season. Without the Champions League. In the best case, the Europa League. In Madrid, Alonso had the pressure to win La Liga and the Champions League. He had no time to practice his training mechanisms. In Chelsea, he gets the most valuable thing that a system manager can wish for. A clean week of work. But why does every new Chelsea coach think that Palmer is a problem? The answer was in Chelsea long before Alonso. It was Mauricio Pochettino. He said Palmer should move from one position to another. Pochettino made a fatal mistake. He pushed Palmer deeper. They asked him to build the game instead of finishing it. The same player today can't even properly shoot the ball. Pochettino did exactly the same thing years ago. At the age of 20, Dele Alli scored goals and made assists in the Premier League. He won the award for the youngest player of the season just like Palmer. When Pochettino left, his career never recovered. Palmer is on the same path as Dele Alli. To understand why Alonso is exactly what Chelsea and Palmer are missing, we first have to understand what Pochettino did. The answer is simple. Pochettino gave him complete freedom. Palmer was already technically trained by City's academy, but he was never a systematic player. His position is not determined by the tactical table in the locker room. It is determined by the way the opponent moves at that particular moment. A player with exceptional football IQ. A type of player who forces the whole team to play at his pace. Wherever he moved, he pulled defenders behind him. The first goals and assists for Chelsea came against Burnley. Palmer scored again and assisted in the first major derby. The first sign of that cold mentality came against Manchester City. Penalty in the final minute. Points taken away from Guardiola in the last second. Then came goals against Luton, perfect penalties, the first hat-trick in his career, winning goals against United, and the historic match against Everton. Goals and assists followed everywhere. The management saw it all, but it did not keep Pochettino after the season. Palmer made an emotional farewell to Pochettino. He thanked him for everything he did for him and for helping him fulfill his dreams. The last thing Palmer needed was Guardiola's student. But Maresca was smart enough to know that he could not put Palmer in a box. He moved him to the role of number 10 and something unexpected happened. Palmer exploded again with goals and assists. Under Maresca, Chelsea pushed toward the top positions. It looked like Chelsea was right and that Pochettino was the past. But later everything fell apart. Palmer stopped scoring away from home. Maresca told journalists that it was a mental problem, which was partially true. Palmer played every minute of every match in his first season and during most of the second season. He went from a reserve player at Manchester City to a player from whom the entire Chelsea project depended. Before the match against West Ham, Palmer suffered from pubalgia, the same injury that many players struggle with. He returned, scored goals, but the injury came back. The same condition that Messi once described as extremely complicated. Palmer admitted himself that he could not even run properly anymore. They pushed him to the limit until the magic disappeared. After the win over Everton, Maresca told journalists that it was the worst period since he came to the club. Too many people inside the club did not support the team. The management took it as a direct attack. Maresca was already losing support in the middle of the season. Then Guardiola came out in front of journalists and said that Chelsea lost an incredible coach and an incredible person. And what is missed in this whole story is that Alonso didn't ask for the manager title. The management insisted that he get the title of manager instead of head coach because they were brutally impressed with his leadership qualities during the negotiations. Chelsea can no longer have passengers in the team. Ego destroyed Alonso in Madrid. Chelsea's management just gave him the power to make sure that this never happens at Stamford Bridge.